Well, hello. We are here today and we are talking about stage 4 of agency growth. We're talking about smashing through the agency growth barriers. So what are the agency growth barriers, Kate? What is this thing we keep talking about twice a week? What is it? Why are we here? What are we yakking about?
I'm surely people must know by now what the agency growth barriers are. This is our 4th edition, and we are creating a new language here at Agent Rainmaker, as we say, with all these new words and technologies. But the agency growth barriers are those stages of business life that you get stuck at. So we've gone through the first one, which is for people starting out, getting to their first 60 properties, and just trying to push through that boundary to get to the next stage, where obviously you can sit quite comfortably, or the chaos phase, as it were, and push to the next one. And today we're talking about the 4th one, which is the development phase. So it's those kind of levels in business where you're either panicking, pushing, doing better, or just sitting and being comfortable and plateauing. It's all of those stages. And we've identified that there are 8 within an agency growth lifespan of an agency.
Absolutely. We actually wrote a whole guide about it, didn't we? Which was the agency evolution matrix, about the 8 stages of agency growth. You can see the 8 stages there, going from 1 to 8. And we describe it in properties under management because it seems to tally along the lines of how many properties you've got under management. The first one I ever noticed was around 80 to 120 properties. People just tend to get absolutely stuck there. And so basically we just created these different layers. And today we're here to talk about the stage taking you between 250 and 500 properties. Now, the last phase, stage 3, is actually the stage where most people actually get stuck. The average letting agency here in the UK is around 180 properties. And so that's the most popular stage or most common stage where most agencies end up getting stuck and sticking. However, stage 4 is actually one of the most comfortable phases. And so when people get to this phase, stage 4, which is up to 500 properties, it can be a very nice place to be. If you've got the business structured and you're making profit and that sort of stuff, as you should do, this is a very nice stage. And I'll be honest with you, and I've run agencies now for over 30 years, which is crazy. I was 18 years old when I set up my letting agency. I still own that business today. I also own a white label management company. I also own Agent Rainmaker, a training organization, which is what myself and Kate here are talking to you from today. So I'm really embedded in the whole process. But I'll be honest with you, when I got to 500 properties, I sat there for about 10 years and didn't really do much because it was nice. It's a place where you can, if you want to, go and play golf, spend time with your kids, family, go on holiday. I bought villas and started investing in property left, right and centre. So whatever it is you want to do, you can do. And I did sit there for about 10 years. So that's the thing to be aware of with this phase, which is stage 4, which we call the team development phase. So stage 1, 0 to 60 properties is the chaos phase. Stage 2, 60 to 120 is the getting organized phase. Stage 3 is where you start to actually get teams in their lanes and get them where they should be. And then stage 4 is basically the team development phase. So this is what we're here to talk about today. So if this is you, if you are somewhere between 250 and 500 properties, this is where you're at. So in the last phase that we talked about on Wednesday, we talked about actually making sure that you can start to get people in their lanes, people in their roles, and making sure they're doing what they should be doing. That's the first phase. So let's say, for example, you've got 3 or 4 staff. You need to make sure you're starting to get defined roles. That's like somebody who's a negotiator, somebody who's a lister, someone who's a tenancy manager, maybe a branch manager. You're starting to get people in their lanes and making sure they're staying in their relevant lanes and tasks to get that job done. Now, this phase goes to the next level. And I can remember actually going into one particular agency probably about 10 years ago, actually, and I was doing some consulting at the time, and they had about 300 properties under management, but it was like about 12, 13 staff, Kate. I mean, can you imagine 12, 13 staff and just 300 properties under management? And I'll be honest, it was absolute chaos. It was quite a stressful few days, I must admit, to see this chaos. And basically you had one business owner at the top. Actually, it was a couple, but the one person was running it. And all these people were running to this person. So everybody wanted to ask everything of this guy. So this guy just sat there like they got like 12 or 13 helpers just coming to them day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out. And it was absolutely crazy. And I can remember being exactly that same place. And this is quite common, Kate, isn't it? That people don't get anything done every day because they're just answering questions all day. It's really quite stressful, isn't it?
Yeah, business owners, especially at that level, they obviously know what they're doing. They're obviously experienced. They've obviously been successful at getting the business to the level that it is now. But it's that even more so than the last stage. It's that letting go, isn't it? And actually having people below you that you can trust to make these decisions without you. And what so many business owners make the mistake of doing is keeping themselves in that office, because if you are the most experienced person in the room, you are going to be the person who people come to with questions. So, you by putting yourself in that office, as you say, that this example, of course it's going to be like some sort of beehive, and you're the queen bee and everyone's buzzing around you, that kind of thing. And it's not productive, because you can't get on with pushing through to the next stage, which is what we're talking about here. Plus, no one else feels that they've been given the responsibility or the trust or the authority to make any decisions without you. And that is just impossible for growth. You will not go any further if that's how you stay.
Absolutely. And so if you want to get to that mecca stage of, your 500 properties and you can go on the golf course and do what you want, there's a few things you need to do. So get your pens. This is what you need to be focusing on. All right. The first one is you need to be making sure, we call it the 4 R's. You want to be making sure that you have every single thing that needs to be done in that business attributable to somebody. All right. So everything, even down to emptying the bins, locking the door, emptying the dishwasher. Isn't that annoying when that doesn't get done? Whatever it is, every single thing that needs to be done in your office needs to be attributed to somebody, and somebody is attributed to everything. So everyone knows what their list of tasks are, what they need to be doing, and who needs to be doing it. And that's really, really important, because if you don't do that, loads of people running around all trying to do the same thing is not going to work. And for example, that office I went into to do that consulting, there was no real defined roles, or just people all over the place. There was 3 people just doing arrears. It was ridiculous. So just people running around all over the place. So make sure you've got every single task allocated to everybody. And the 4 R's are this. Number 1, identify what their role is. So you are a lister. Identify what their responsibility is. Their job is to generate valuations and to attend and take on properties. Identify what their results are that you expect. So we're expecting 30 new take-ons every single month, and 85% of them to be fully managed. And finally, the last R is to understand what the requirements are. So they need to be able to drive, need to be personal, need to have sales skills, personal communication skills, customer service skills, whatever. All right. So you need to understand the 4 R's required for every single role in the business. And that's so important. Okay. And you know what? So often people just recruit people and they just go, just do lettings. It's crazy, isn't it? There's so much to it.
Something that people don't get out of this habit, because if you've started your own business or you've worked in a relatively small business, and I've done both, worked in big corporates and small startups, and the small startups it's a great feeling at first, because you're all in it together and you're a small team pulling together and everyone's doing a bit of everything, and that's great. But as you get bigger, that does need to change. Quite rightly, as you say, Sally, people need to stay in their lanes. People need to have defined roles, because that is the only way that you can scale up. And having that sort of mentality of we're all in there, we go in the morning and we just all do what we've got to do, and then the end of the day and we come away again, it doesn't lend its hand well to growth, sustainable growth. So you have got to make sure that everyone has a role and a responsibility. And also it really helps to be able to manage people, because you cannot manage someone effectively unless you've told them exactly and precisely what it is that they are meant to be doing and what their expectations are for the job.
And that is the most important thing, actually. And if you employ a lister and you say to them, your job is to take the properties on, if they take 2 on, that's okay then, isn't it? Because you haven't said to them their job is to take 15 on or take 20 on or whatever the specific requirement is. You haven't actually told them. So you've got to be very, very specific as what the role is, what the requirements are, what results look like good, and finally, what you require from them in the role. So 4 R's is very important. I think the next one is one of the most important ones, and that is actually making sure that you've actually start to break up into teams. And so many letting agencies still at this point are still like 12 people all doing various things, but you need to start creating in teams. As human beings, we can only really work in teams of 5 now. It used to be 7, it's been reduced now. The recommendation is 5. And so if you've got 12 people, you've basically got 3 teams. And so the idea here is what you do is you break it down into separate teams. So you've got the new business department that find landlords, find tenants and put the 2 together. You've got the tenancy management department that deal with the managers of properties after they've moved in into vacation, and maybe a client accounting team. Now it could be different. You could have a leads gen team or marketing team or whatever, it doesn't matter. But start breaking them down into different teams. And really what you do here is you put one person in charge of that team. Now, Kate just described how even if you're in the building, people will come running to you. But if you do this right, you can avoid that. And I certainly sat in my office for many years with my 3 teams and didn't have them coming to me, but it took some discipline. So here's what happens. I basically had an agency and there was like 12 staff, and they were literally all running to me. I'd come in the morning with all these ideas, the things I wanted to do, and there'd be like a queue at the door, Sally, 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 Sally. And this just didn't stop until I walked out the building. It was ridiculous. And of course, I never got any of my stuff done. All I ever did was answer their question. I thought, I've got to stop this. And so I basically picked the 3 best people I had in each of the departments, so 1 in each of the departments, new business management and client accounting, and I made them the managers of those departments. Now, if I'd done it again, I wouldn't have made them managers. I'd have made them senior team members, but hey-ho, I made them managers. And all of a sudden, it was like the switch had gone off. People weren't coming to me. There was a few that tried. They tried to come past Joe and come to me. And I was just like, you need to speak to Joe. You need to ask Joe that question. Or you need to ask Helen that question. You need to ask Steve that question. Don't ask me. You need to ask them that question. I kept passing them back and passing them back. It was so tempting to answer their questions, though, Kate, because you want to, but it doesn't help, does it? And actually, you're not solving the problem you do.
It's the handover period, isn't it, in a way, where you've got to wean people off the fact that you're there for that advice. And it's like you say, it's just making that hierarchy, because if you've got those 12 people who are reporting to 3 people, then really you only have to have your conversations with 3 people, not with, with the 12, which is great. But you do have to be strong. And people are always saying this to us, but they keep asking me, but they keep coming to me. But you're undermining that manager or team leader that you've put into place if you are going around them and answering questions or helping or anything like that. So you've got to be really strong, and it does take some time. It's just sort of getting people out of the habit of that, and people do soon learn. But it's change, like with any change, you've got to be consistent with it, and if you are committed to putting it into place, then you've got to stand by your own rules as well.
You have, and it is absolutely essential that you do stick to your guns. And you hear in this phase, you'll hear people say things like, I just feel like I've got 13 helpers. That's the first thing that you'll hear. And then when they put managers in place, you'll hear people say, I've got managers, but I'm doing the job. So there is a problem. If you're doing the job and you're paying managers, this is so common because basically the manager's been brought in, the manager is not being effective, it's not doing what they should be doing, and so you're doing it. The answer is you need to make that manager accountable for doing X, Y, Z, and if they don't do it, then they're not managers, are they? So it's about being self-disciplined yourself, but also disciplined with them as well. So set the expectations. The other thing you'll hear as well is that the managers themselves are not actually taking on the responsibility. So how do I describe this? So you've got a manager in place, they've got the salary, they've got the title, they're sitting there, but all they do is come to you and go, well, Kate, those staff are crap. They haven't done anything. They're just sitting there. It's not my fault. I've done everything. I've asked them and I've told them, but they're just not doing it. Whose fault there? What's going on? It's the manager, isn't it? It's the manager's not doing what they should be doing. And it comes to us to then explain to the manager, well, when you were in your old role, it was down to whether you had done a good job or not. But in this role, you will be praised, rewarded, or recommended on the basis that you've got your staff to work for you. That's what a good manager is. You're getting your team effective. And it's so important. There was actually I can remember an old little ditto about a boat race, and there was this high-flying team. There was the coxsman, is that what it's called, at the front of a boat, if I've got the right terminology, and the team, and they were like, yeah, and absolutely flew, and then there was this team that was last. And the team that was last, the coxswain was going, the team of rubbish, they're lazy, they didn't whatever. So basically they swapped the 2 coxsmen over, and the team that was last actually won. So a good manager is so powerful. I'm sorry if I relayed that wrong, but I know what I'm trying to say. A manager is so powerful. A manager's role, number one role, is to get the team working. And if they can't get the team working, it's their problem, not the staff's problem, because they can hire, they can fire, they can reward, they can reprimand, they can motivate, they can do all the things they need to do. As a good manager, it's their job to get it sorted. And so because that responsibility has not been taken on, the owner then ends up managing around the manager. So you're paying someone, but you're managing around the manager, and that is so frustrating. Can you imagine that, Kate? You're paying for it and then you're doing it yourself?
Yeah. It's so hard. And I think this comes down to you've got to manage yourself in terms of being able to manage the manager, so the manager can manage the staff, because it's like I say, you undermine them if you do that and go round them. But also it's impossible to manage them if you're not allowing them to sometimes to fail or have the opportunity. And that's the hardest bit, is to stand back and watch someone, F up, you know what I mean, or do something wrong or fail in some sort of way. But unfortunately, sometimes that has to happen. There has to be failures in order to learn and to grow and for people to progress, or for you to be able to find out that they're not the person that you need in that position in the first place, and then be able to obviously make that decision. But if you're jumping in and doing their role for them, you'd never know that. You'd never know that A, they might be very capable and it might be the key to your growth, or B, that actually they aren't the right person and you're throwing money down the drain and they are the wrong fit in your business. So you've got to do this. You've got to put your big girl pants on and do this for many reasons, really, because if you get this right, this can be absolutely the key to growth in you and pushing through that next stage.
So let's assume you separated the team of 12 into 3 different departments, and you've now got team leaders at the head of each of these departments, and you're starting to have conversations with them along the lines of, well, it's your job to get them working, Mr. Manager. It's not your job to tell me they're all doing it wrong. You need to be dealing with this. You're having those conversations. The manager's then taking accountability. The next phase is to build some sort of good management structure, and that is where you, as Kate says there, you manage the 3 managers. So you need to be having regular communication with your senior team members around how they and what they are doing. So you need to give them numbers that they're responsible for. So you're responsible for X amounts of let's, X amounts of this, X amounts of that. You're going to give them accountability. For example, one of the ones we have because we have a white label tenancy management team, one of the things we do is we actually have a bums on seats percentage. She has to have 95% occupancy of all the seats at all time, allowing for holidays and things like that. So it's understanding what are the key metrics that you need to be making sure your managers are managing, and then keeping them to those tasks, and not allowing them to come to the meeting and just blame all the staff, because that really is their responsibility, not yours, to deal with that and to deal with those issues. So there we have it. Number 1, the 4 R's. Number 2 is to put a management structure in place, and we're trying to get rid of those 12, 13 helpers all coming to Sally. The next thing we need to do is to actually put staff accountability throughout the system, and this makes such a difference when you can actually get the whole team accountable, Kate, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Putting a system in place for this, the SAS, as we call it, the staff accountability system, is huge. And you will find that the right people in your business will be excited about this. They will revel in this because they want that responsibility. They want to be able to take on more. They want to be able to show you that they're doing a good job and feel empowered and that kind of thing. And again, having that sort of structure and system around it helps you to give people expectations as well as help to manage your own, because that is one of the toughest things to do. So making sure that everyone's accountable for every area is really helpful. And as you say, you're spreading the load, and spreading the load is the only way that you can scale and grow, because you are one person and there is only so much capacity that one person can do.
It is, and it's giving them that focus. And there is a saying that people can only really focus on 7 core things. So what we actually do is we give people 7 things that they're accountable for. So 7 core numbers, 7 things they have to track every single day. So for a negotiator, for example, it would be how many web prospects have come in. It would be how many applications they've received. It would be how many viewings they've booked. It would be how many contact calls they've made to nurture and to follow up. It would be how many move-ins they've got, how many available property stock they've got, those sort of things. So what are the key 7 numbers that each of your members of staff in every department has to track and be responsible for? Tenancy manager would be things like gas certs expired, electric certs expired, renewals, there's an SPT, arrears, etc., etc. So there's 7 numbers that each member of staff is accountable for, and that goes right through the business. And that makes it easy for your managers to manage the staff. It makes it easier for them to be able to manage the staff and make sure that they're doing what they should be doing, rather than just this theoretical, just find some properties and let some houses. It's all a bit too woolly and a little bit too vague. We've got to be very, very specific. All right, so those are your first 3.
Now on sort of the general feel of it all, rather than actual specific results. For some reason, we've stopped managing people on specific KPI and results. If they're doing well and business is doing okay and everyone's sort of happy, we sort of take that to mean that they're being managed well. But actually putting down those nitty-gritty numbers and things like that, and actually managing them on figures, you can do the other stuff as well, of course, that's really important, but don't forget those figures that you need to build the business that you want. Really, really important.
We call them the figures that move the needle. They are the ones that move the needle, the ones that are most important, that make you go, ah, but they're not hit. Those are the numbers that are absolutely key. Now, this conversation we're having, I've got the fourth point to share with you in a minute. This chat that we're doing here, Smashing Through the Agency Growth Barriers, is a 4-week lead up to an event we're running called ARX Mastery. We're really excited about it. And at ARX Mastery, we're actually going to be sharing with you some amazing stories. And one particularly was one letting agent who went from literally just having one guy who worked for him, who just did the bid of lettings and a revenue of 78,000, actually grew his business to over £1 million turnover in the last 12 months. But what's been interesting about this, relevant to what I'm saying here, is that he actually managed to get it so that he has one person relevant to each individual department and under them whole teams. And he's managed to embed that whole accountability, whole responsibility. A lot of stuff's been outsourced as well. He's got a lot of outsourced workers as well. Built an amazing machine of a business. In fact, there's quite a few people that have done that in the last 12 months. So really, really interesting what you can do when you take this to the next level. So there's some really exciting things. Now, ARX Master is a 3-day event we're running on the 19th to 21st of March. It is going to be like nothing you've ever seen before. We're going to be on a real live stage. There's going to be swag boxes coming out to you. There's going to be champagne coming out to you. There's going to be breakout rooms. There's going to be masterminding with the speakers. There's going to be real digging down into strategies that are creating huge amount of growth and additional revenue in the last 12 months, just so you can do the same. So it's a little bit like our celebration of coming out of lockdown, isn't it, Kate?
Oh my goodness, is it hell? We need that. We need to celebrate this community. It's been amazing this year, how this industry has continued to be so, stoic and keep going and all of that kind of thing. We should be very, very proud of that. And I think also we need to respect that the world has changed, and therefore the way that we need to deal with our business and our customers has changed. And so we've been working really hard behind the scenes, Sal, haven't we, on creating a lot of new content, new strategies that we're going to come to you with on the 3 days to help equip you for the next 12 months, which is, is like no world we've ever lived in or seen before. But also to celebrate the incredible successes of the people that we've had the pleasure with working through in the last 12 months. 2020, what a year. But my God, some people have achieved some phenomenal results in that year. And so we want to be able to celebrate them and help show that their success can help to be your success, and show you the strategies that they've used, and have a good old virtual party. Why not?
Absolutely. One of the questions I've been asked a few times is it suitable for staff or is it suitable for business owners? It's a business owner growth event, so it's 3 days all about business owner growth strategies. But most people find our events like Agent Maker Live and stuff like that, the staff love them. It's really motivational, inspirational. So bring them along. It's great. And that's why we've kept the price really, really low to come and join us. It's £147. Gets you 2 tickets. All right. So we're just trying to cover our cost basically running this event because we want to share this with the industry. We want to give some hype, some pizzazz, some opportunities for growth, and really just share the success story. So £147. We have an offer on at the moment for the next week. You get 2 tickets for the price of 1. We've just had a lovely guy in Norfolk actually win an iMac, who was one of the first 50 ticket purchase. So he just got an iMac being delivered today, I think.
Yeah, today. We'll go live with him. I'll probably do it at the weekend because he will be receiving a box with a brand new iMac in.
How exciting. I know, it's awesome. So guys, come and join us at ARX Master. It's going to be awesome. 3 days of absolute diamond gem stuff, sharing how you can actually add a huge amount of revenue to your business, and really gets to hear some case studies, examples and stories of in the last 12 months. This is new stuff. It's not stuff we were doing 2-3 years ago. It's stuff in the last 12 months. Been amazing stories. All right, so we have point 4 to share with you. Okay, so this is part of the Agent Rainmaker Smashing Through Agency Growth Barriers. We're talking about how you can smash through those barriers of 0 to 60, 60 to 120, 120 to 50 to 50 to 500, which we are right now. That's properties under management. And we've already shared with you about the 4 R's. We've talked to you about the staff accountability system. We've talked to you about stepping out and putting in management structures. The final one is letting go. And it's so important. And Kate mentioned this right at the beginning. She said, well, why are you still in the office? Now, I don't think it's a problem being in the office. You can be in the office or be out the office. Now, personally, what I did is I literally left the office. I got my box. I rented a serviced office around the corner and I left the office. And it worked amazingly well. Surprisingly, the staff just managed without me because we got that management structures in place. The managers was in place. Everything was ticking over as it should do. And I was able to focus on other things, which for me was setting up a franchise and setting up a training organization, do the things that I love and wanted to spend my time with. For you, it might be something completely different. But stepping back and letting go is not easy. And many people really struggle with actually letting go. Why do you think that is, Kate? Why do people struggle with letting go and letting people take control? What do you think it is?
For many reasons. I think especially if you've been a business owner that built your business up over sort of 10, 20 years. You were there right at the beginning. You were the one person who did everything, and then you started to get more staff out. And unfortunately, at this stage in growth, you've probably had some crap. You've had the staff that's gone wrong. You've been burned by some people. You've had it go wrong in certain circumstances. This happens, right? You know, over the course of employing people, unfortunately, you do get some bad eggs. And, you know, if you show me someone that hasn't had one issue over a sort of 10-year period, then, you know, congratulations to them. So it does certainly come down to trust, doesn't it, and experience. And unfortunately, for everything that goes wrong, you sort of, you know, you build a sort of another layer in your wall up, don't you, kind of thing. And part of you as a business owner, I think, always has at the back of your mind that no one will ever do it quite as well as you do. And it's like when Sally says, you know, so she rented an office around the corner and got herself out of there. And amazingly, the world didn't end and the business did continue. And I think sometimes it's taking that leap of faith and realizing that that doesn't happen. You know, it does go on, and you can look back and be very, very proud at what you've created.
Yeah, it is tough letting go. But if you're struggling to let go, it probably just means that you haven't got enough trust in the people that are beneath you, and that's probably because they probably need a little bit more training, a little bit more accountability, and you need to see a little bit more results. So, you know, don't initially just delegate or abdicate and leg it out the door. You do need to make sure these people are capable, are able to do what needs to be done so that you can move on. And you will know when the time is right. And when you find yourself just finding things to do because there's nothing left for you to do. For me, it was finding that I was writing a process sheet for emptying the dishwasher. I realized I really needed to get out of that building. You will know when the time is right. But I think if you're really, really a strong control freak, you might not want to let go. And I think it's looking in the mirror and saying, am I not letting go because I don't want to? Or am I not letting go because these people aren't capable? Or am I not giving them the opportunity to stand up? And I think quite common, that is the issue, that people don't actually give people the opportunity to stand up and take control because the boss keeps getting in the way. Have you ever come across that, Kate?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people who are good, so the A players we talk at and the businesses, and the people that are going to be those managers that will help you to skyrocket, are not going to stay in a situation like that for that long if they're not being given those opportunities for responsibility and trust. And what you don't want to do is end up managing out someone like that, because, you know, that will be a huge hole in your business. So you do have to take that sort of step. It's like Sally says, you know, it does take a little bit of time. And unfortunately, this is the stage where it's you that needs to work on some stuff, because this comes down to you putting in the necessary steps to manage the managers correctly, you know, and once you've done that, then you can step away. But don't be full foul of letting someone go because you haven't been able to give them the responsibility or the trust that they really do deserve. And most people at this stage in the business have got that person in their business already. They just might not have identified it properly yet.
Yeah, usually the person that should be next to you is actually already next to you and you just haven't seen them. Yeah. But see, a lot of people think they have to recruit in a lettings manager or branch manager. Quite often the person that's been in your business since day one or has been with you a long time, or the long-suffering hard worker that you always pass the task to, is the one that you should be looking at. And quite often they get overlooked, and it's a shame, really. So, guys, you've been updated. These are the stage 4 of the 8 stages of agency growth and smashing through the barriers. If you want to get past the 500 ticket price, if you want to get past the 500 properties under management barrier, what you need to be focusing on is basically, number 1, get your 4 R's in place: your roles, responsibility, requirements, and results. Number 2, staff accountability throughout the entire company to make sure everyone knows exactly what they're responsible for. Number 3 is then create teams and senior managers or team leaders of each of those individual teams and make them accountable. Create a management structure so you're dealing with them and they are dealing with their staff, and you're not going around them and paying them and then doing the job yourself. And then finally getting that confidence to be able to step back and be able to do the things that we're going to be talking about in stage 5, which will be on Wednesday next week. So stage 5 is a very exciting phase because this is where you become the business owner and you're no longer on the tools playing around with the keys and dealing with deposits and answering the phone when people don't turn up. You're going to become the business owner, and you're going to find other things to do to really, really add value and squeeze the juice out of that business. But you're never going to get there if you don't sort out these 12 people coming running to you and asking you questions, if you don't create those teams and you don't pass on that accountability and responsibility, and you don't let go. So very important phase. 10 years I sat there. I was very comfortable, nice little cash cow. But basically I stayed there far too long. Note to self. All right, just be careful of that. These things do happen. Has this been useful to you guys? Let me know, please. We want to know you are out there. Has this been useful? Have you enjoyed this? Have you got something from this? Is this you? Is this where you are? Or have you worked in a company in this sort of position right now? Because we see so many people in this place and so many get stuck. And it's a shame because there's so many things you can do with it. Do you think that's been useful to people, Kate?
Definitely. And I think we're halfway there, which is really exciting, because if people quite often, as you started this, get to this stage and think, well, I've done that, successful business, you know, living quite a comfortable life, that kind of thing. So how exciting to think that you could be only halfway to where you could actually be. So perhaps time to dust off, you know, and have a look and perhaps think about moving forward and smash through to that next stage.
Absolutely. I mean, we're stage 4 and we're only at 500 properties. So where's this going to go, I wonder? Wouldn't it be amazing if we could get to like 3,000 properties under management? Wouldn't that be awesome? Can you imagine that?
We need like a CEO hat next or something like that. I mean,
I've got a business owner hat on. Actually, I've got that. I'll bring that out next time. We'll bring that for stage 5.
Yeah, loads of hats.
Yeah, loads of that. Right, guys, it's been amazing. Thank you, Josh. Thank you, everybody watching and listening. That was stage 4. We'll be here Wednesday at 4 o'clock for stage 5. I can't wait. It's going to be really exciting. This is where we really get excitable at stage 5. This is where we start making some serious wonga. All right, guys, have you been educated? You've been updated? Thank you very much. Don't forget to book your ARX Mastery ticket, free champagne, T-shirts, swag, all those sort of different things. Absolutely got to be there. 3 days of intense education on how to grow your business and make more money, more importantly, more profitability, all those sort of things. Make sure you do that. All right, guys, see you soon. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye, guys.